Howdy, folks. Got my hat back, my lucky hat. Seems as though I've been able to get a couple things done here I want to demonstrate. So I'm going to click on this here network browser thing. I'm going to my work group. I'm going to click on this here Haiku thing. And I think I'm going to go in my patches directory and make a new file. Just because I feel like it. I'm going to go into Haiku. Go into the packages directory. Now I'm going to go out of the packages directory. And I'm going to look at my text file. I'm going to delete that text file. I'm going to go back here, press the refresh button, and I'm going to realize that my text file is gone. I just don't quite understand what that means. Do I have the VirtualBox guest editions installed? No. I didn't do that. Wonder what it is that I did. Oh, I installed Samba. That's what I did. And I configured it to be a Samba server. Oh. And then I made a share out of the directories. But I got my patches, my packages, and my package source settings in. So that way, when I say go into Windows, I can just browse the network, get to my packages, my patches, and my settings, and easily load them up to GitHub. The question is, how did I actually do this? Well, I just installed Samba. Done. Well, there's more to it than that. And I'm going to talk about what those things are today, and I'm also going to talk about shared memory and a little bit of looking into and investigating I've done with shared memory that I haven't really finished the process with yet. And I'll do a little bit about my package count and where it is and where it might go and how long that'll take for me to be done with the first stage. And what I plan to do with the packages is, well, I'll just mention now, I'll probably upload to GitHub. And, but let's get to Samba first, because I think it's really, actually really important. It's a really important milestone. And to keep this up is very important. You know, to make sure there's always at some point in time Samba is available. And I really honestly would have this part of the operating system. In fact, now that with this Samba working, I can care less if NFS is not working. FTP is kind of nice to have, but I don't need to use it anymore. So it makes a big difference. This is a reverse Samba client. And I'm also going to talk about one thing that could have spoiled the whole bit, and what I did to work around it, and what just happened to work for me, and what I hope will still continue to work, and what the technical issue actually was that almost stopped a very good solution from working. So I'll start with this. I've put up the patches for Samba were made by Diger originally. I don't remember whether I've updated his patches or just used them. I have combined them with my set So they're up at GitHub. They're at I'm Linux CPA. This is the patches. If you download my entire patch set, which is a whole other topic, but basically, you know, isn't that complicated. You download my patch set after getting Pkgsrc, after bootstrapping it. It should bootstrap, shouldn't have a problem now that the strings header is in the string header. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. All you should know is it should probably work now. Bootstrap, unzip the Pkgsrc thing, bootstrap, get my patches down anywhere where I say it's a replacement patch. You have to replace the existing patch with the same name that was created by the NetBSD project in the various categories, and there's a lot of them. Replacement files, replace the files that they provide from Pkgsrc, and then put the rest of the patches either in the patches directory or the local patches directory. And you got to go into all those different directories and run bmake patch sum. Well, not necessarily. If you just want Samba, you don't have to do every one of them, but you have to. Certainly for the path leading up to Samba, you have to. You have to download and use my settings too. You'll be able to build this by typing bmake install from within the Samba folder. Well, since bmake isn't pathed, yeah, I'll probably have to load up my .profile file also. So that way you won't have to worry about making aliases or anything like that. You'll have a Samba build. Or, once I load up the binary, which I probably will, you just have to bootstrap Pkgsrc and then use package add to add, download the binaries from GitHub and then install them that way. And then you'll have a working Samba client. Personally, for purposes of Haiku Inc., I wouldn't even worry about NFS. I would do Samba. There's no problem. There's no kernel panics. It works fine. I'm going to go into the details of what I did to get it to work after I had it installed and set up. A lot of the credit goes to Diger. I've just been able to figure out what he's done, and I'm delivering the message to people that don't speak Russian. but basically, Diger gets a lot, 99 if not all of the credit, and I think even Kika Obado worked on it as well. I mean, it's definitely a team effort, but obviously. In the open source world, no one does anything by their own. So I'm here to deliver the message and the method as to how you would be able to have this in your own system. If I haven't said this before, since Haiku's BSD, every one of my patches are BSD. I didn't go writing on every one of my patches. This is BSD. Well, it just is from here on out. Before, after, whenever. That's what it is. Public statement, done. So, hopefully someone will be able to make a recipe in Haiku Porter out of it, because I suck at Haiku Porter. That simple. So, but I'll learn someday. I will. I've figured out a lot of things here, so. Alright, so to start with, let's just get with Samba, because that's probably, and then I'll go into more technical things, more mundane things, and where I'm at with the statuses, and how things are going, and stuff like that, and where I need to improve, and, other things I need to build, things I need to figure out, things I could have done a better job of, and, stuff like that. But first I'll do what is most useful to most people, which would be being able to use Samba, which basically means that you'll be able to put your files in a directory, or the directories that you choose, and then access them from other computers, including your own host. So if you have Haiku in VirtualBox, you'll be able to actually browse your Linux network and access the files that are in VirtualBox. Okay, so restart. So supposing you've gone through the, you've gone through the process, you've got Samba built, you have a package for it, or you've installed it from, you downloaded the package from, along with all of its dependencies from GitHub that I have yet to load, but I will. Now, how do you use it? Okay, so this is how you use it. Let's start from the beginning. In Haiku, there is something called a user boot script that is in boot home config settings under boot called user boot script. Right now, I'm going to highlight the first two things you'd put in, assuming you've set up package source the way it wants to by default. You'll have, and you've installed, Samba. You just have to add these two lines: boot home package sbin nmbd start, boot home package sbin smbd start. Now, what I'll probably end up doing is actually, I will end up putting my user boot script up in GitHub, so you could just use it. The only thing about that is it assumes that you can end up pathing everything the exact way that I have. So just keep that in mind. If something doesn't work, it may be you've decided to put your package source stuff in some other directory or whatever. But try to stick with what I have, then it'll be easier for you. So you have boot home package sbin nmbd start and that. The only other relevant part of this boot script that applies to Samba is this ln-s squiggly thing /temp/temp. That creates a symbolic link. Because Samba, like a lot of other packages, they're made for Unix, expect to have a writable temp directory, and Haiku does not have one. There's one ambiguity about this whole solution is that I have yet to find out, but I'll find out by experimenting, is I don't know if the fact that I've created this symbolic link has resolved an issue that would have prevented me from running Samba at all, or some other parameter that's undocumented that I found in the source code that I really couldn't even tell whether I'd actually found the right answer or not. If that's the reason why, or a combination of both, that this is actually working. Because post-package management, unless you change something to the system or to the Samba source code itself, and it would be a huge, unrealistic job to do, to change the Samba source code, it's not going to work for you. And that's because Samba simply does not have write access to the system temporary directory. So, okay, so basically, if I were to restart, Samba, both the NetBIOS daemon and the, which broadcasts the fact that the share is available and the name of the share is what the folders are, that's what that does, will start, along with the file sharing mechanism, which is the SMBD daemon. Will start. This will attempt to create a symbolic link in the temporary directory, but it will fail unless you do some other things. And so I'm going to go into what those other things were, at least that I tried, as best as I remember. And I'll be honest that if I were to be given a fresh install of Haiku and asked to do this again, I would probably be struggling with it for a little while. So be prepared to struggle with it for a little while. It may work out very easy for you in the beginning, and I may be clear, and I may have remembered everything. I'm pretty sure I remembered everything I've done. It's just that I'm really not clear as to why this worked. It's really strange. So, and I'll explain why. So basically, when Samba starts, actually, before I get to that, Samba has some settings that are controlled in the way it's built. It ends up, Samba will look in boot, home, package, etc. in the Samba directory, and you have to create it comes stock with an smb.conf example file. just make a copy of that, clear it out, and you want to put these contents in it. In fact, I probably will have this uploaded at GitHub as well, but I don't think it's going to be today. It might be a number of days from now. I might get to it tonight. So this work group function usually is called work group, because Windows by default will use work group. Linux doesn't really care what work group you use, but in general, if you haven't made any changes to your Windows setting, if you have a Windows host, just make sure that it says work group equals work group in all caps. The next thing and if you have some other name for a work group then you know what to do in this. You need an explanation for this. Just use the other name that you're actually using. In my case, it's mandate group, because the first Samba connection I ever made was from a Samba machine, and I called customer support, and they had me change work group to MDK group for some reason, but it all worked in the end, so I was happy. The next line is just null passwords equals yes, and to be clear, this setting just gets you started. It just gets you up and running. It has no security. It doesn't require a login from the Linux machine or the Windows machine. It's just there, available, and browsable. That's the way I like it. But if you want to do fancy stuff like passwords or LDAP or DNS caching or any other advanced things that Samba does, but you're new at Samba, start with this and learn the other stuff, but you have to go somewhere else, because I'm not that kind of an expert. The log file, you want to make sure you place it in a part of the system that's writable. You can control this. I've put it in boot home package verilog Samba, and I'm going to show some contents of the Samba logs when I get to the more technical parts of what I had to overcome to actually get this to work. Max log size doesn't really matter. When you say browsable, yes, you're saying that the entire work group is browsable, all the shares. Down here, these are shares, but I'll get to those later. Anything above this line is about Samba's behavior for all the shares, and anything below the red are just the attributes of the things you're actually sharing. This name resolve order seems to be important, so I've used that. OS level, you probably don't need an entry for that, but don't make it 99, because, and for preferred master, say no. If you're in a virtual machine, this max protocol equals NT1 will make your network experience much better, whether you're in Haiku or not. If you're even using Linux, Windows and a Linux host and connecting to a Samba server, that makes a world of difference in a virtual machine, especially VirtualBox. And I have Windows in a virtual machine, in VirtualBox, in Linux as the host, connecting to a Samba server, and the performance is adequate, but only because of the wise help from someone that knows a lot more about Samba than I do, that figured that out. And I'm very grateful to that. These other files, I'm just basically taking everything that Samba would even imagine trying to write to a temporary directory or anything else, and I'm bringing it over into boot home package. This connect path variable, I don't even know if that works or not, but it seems to be part of the solution. The first time I placed it in there, it seemed to not like it, and then subsequent to that, it hasn't complained about it, and I think it's part of the, to me, it's the most likely reason why this is even working, because, and that's just a variable that's used in the source code. I'm not even sure how it would actually work, but it does, I guess. Or it might be the login path variable I'm using here. I'm not sure, but what Samba wants to do, basically, is when it connects, it wants write access to the temp directory. It expects to have that kind of access, and Samba and Haiku's is not writable. the temp directory is redirected to boot system cache temp, and you can't write to it. And I'll show the log entries. They're actually descriptive. That'll show that it couldn't write to it, and so Samba didn't start. And I'll show how the log entries changed as I worked through things and finally got it to work. Public equals yes is the same thing as, guest OK equals yes. And I made the security on the share, and I have the guest equals user. If I were to get rid of one of these things, I might end up, or if you're having trouble, I'll get to that later. Basically, one of the symptoms of Samba not being able to write to the temp directory is the fact that it asks for username and password when it shouldn't. So these don't necessarily get rid of that, but they're part of the overall solution. All my shares are set up identically. The comment is just when you look at the share from another place, it'll say, this is the Haiku share. In fact, all three of them say that. So, the path is the part of your Haiku system that you want to share your files with the other systems. So, for example, this solve folder is actually boot home desktop solved. In there, I have all my patches I've come up with, or other forms of solutions of various kinds. Read only equals no just means that guest users, aka people that don't have to log in, can actually create files and save them in the shares. And browsable and guest OK, just all that makes it accessible. So with that changed, the problem I was having at this stage is, okay, made my shares. They should work in theory, but I can't test them because I can't browse them from anywhere. And I could tell the service was starting because I went into the terminal and I typed netstat minus tap. No, just netstat. And you see netbios, it's running. nmbd, smbt, okay. It's running, right? So I knew it was running, but then when I tried to browse it from Linux or Windows, it would just say you don't have access to it. All I saw was the Haiku thing, and that was it. From Linux, it would ask for username and password and fail out no matter what I did. I did end up at one point creating a user named Nobody, but that didn't solve it. And here, actually, the default username in Haiku is actually user. So what I'm saying is that the guest account is the user account. I'm mapping my user as the Haiku user to the guest account, which requires no username or password to log into. I basically donate to anybody that browses my Samba share. Of course, I'm in an isolated network, so I'm not worried about it. All the rights I have is a normal Haiku user. Okay, so getting back. So what problem do I have? Let's just go to look at the log, go to package. There. Log, right? Samba. This was my Linux host. Okay, I'm in VirtualBox right now. And what it would say is that it basically couldn't change directories to boot system cache temp because of not allowed, and so Samba just wouldn't start. And I'm thinking, well, fuck. Here's another problem with the package manager once again, without having any write access to the system or the ability at all to do that. I'm not going to have Samba create a Haiku package every time. I don't even know how to do that anyway. I want to make a frickin' file. It doesn't work, so it was a very poor choice. Good news, I was able to work around this. So the first thing I did was I went into the terminal and I deleted the symlink that constituted the temp directory. So what I did basically is rm minus rf tmp. Now, most of the time, you don't ever want to do rm minus rf unless you're absolutely sure you want to delete all the contents and never see them again from a certain directory. But since the package file system is actually read-only, didn't bother me. It's not going to go away. And so that got rid of the symlink, basically. The next thing I did is I created a temporary directory, and then I started getting these errors here where the IPC service wasn't able to access /tmp, and basically I could change directories into tmp, /tmp, but I couldn't create files there. So to try to work around that, what I did is I went into the user boot script, which is in config, settings boot, and I added this line right here. Now, the result of this line is very interesting. Let's take a look. There is a boot temp. Recall that the log file is saying boot system cache temp. Now, there happens to be a variable embedded in Haiku in the binaries and in some of the headers that basically say that the system temp directory is in fact boot system cache temp. So let's just go into there. Now what I ended up doing, what's very strange is after making the boot script, there actually is a symbolic link within the temp directory. For some reason, Samba is able to accept this. I tested to see that whether I had write access to it, and I did. And of course, this is actually a symbolic link to this folder here, boot home temp, that I do have write access to. And in the midst of all this, I ended up deciding I was going to trash that tracker. And I pressed the shift key to allow it, and I moved it over to the trash. I eventually disposed of it. It has since come back. Anyway, either that worked and allowed Samba to run, or the fact that in my smb.conf file here that this works is one possibility. The login path could be the other possibility. Or it could be that part. One of those three things, or a combination of all those, has allowed me to actually be able to browse my the files I've shared from Haiku to the rest of the network. And it's turned out this is just pretty much exactly what you would have if you had shared folders in VirtualBox Guest Editions. So, and the way getting the mouse integration is, I've already discussed this, was from, I have this set up as a USB mouse in the VirtualBox settings. So that works. So after I did that, then I rebooted. I tried to browse Haiku. I was ready to give up. I was thinking I'd have to change the source code from Samba, and I looked at it, and Samba expects there's going to be a writable temporary directory. And I'm sure there's plenty of projects that expects there will be a writable temporary directory. And once again, this package manager with absolutely pointless. Everybody's worried about malware. I think people are just too concerned about malware. Whoever designed this, it was blessed by some other people because they thought, well, someone could remote control my machine, and I want to be notified, and I don't want my system files deleted, blah, blah, whatever. I mean, end of the day, it is not helpful to have that be read-only. But what is helpful at this stage It is now even from Windows. I could just browse into my Haiku directory. There's all my packages, and then I could load them to GitHub pretty easily. So I plan on loading up my packages as well. And now I have an easy way to access my stuff that's in Haiku, and I don't have to FTP all the time. That was a real pain in the ass. So I'm going to end up putting up the binary package for Samba along with its dependencies, probably everything I've built so far, and all my settings and all the different things I've done. And I've done some unusual things. I've had to. Such as, you know, copying over the glut and glue libraries so things like foo billiards would run, which I ended up doing last night. If you're curious, I have not put any of my packages at all in non-packaged. So I'm not at all having the problems I was having before where the binaries could not find the libraries. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to have to do the whole package, to do the whole path. But at the end of the day, obviously, at least Foo Billiard is able to find its target. Okay, so then just as a side note, this program apparently, as you can hear, it has sound and it's in its own window. It's adequately integrated into Haiku here. It's not running in a separate window. I don't have to have an X server running and do something in the background to make things connect. It's just working. I like that. I'm going to look at the source code and see how that has actually happened, and try to see if I could change some things and some other stuff and get things to run without library X11, because obviously we got an X window here. But it would probably take a lot of effort, and that's probably a year or two down the line if I keep doing this. As far as my numbers are concerned, so in the games where I had 88 before, I have 103 now. So in every category I'm getting at least 10, well, depending on the size of it, proportionally, you know, out of the games there's 300, I got another 15, you know, so on a smaller category I might get one more, but in every single category that I've gone through, done a run through, and then I checked and looked to see what built before, and then went back and made sure I made a settings change or a patch for the ones that didn't build. Mostly were for strings or for L network. There's only about 10 packages that I have not actually been able to rebuild where I built on my last run. And but at the cost of those, they're still actually available. I can still install them if I want. In fact, I did that with Python 27. The benefit is now I have patches and settings for everything that I've built, so people can actually use those things and get exactly to where I am right now, which is right here. Graphical programs are running. We have a build of, you know, I'm going to look at, there's a lot of things I need to do. I have no Ruby builds. I've solved the PHP builds, but not Ruby. I need to fix the shared memory issue. There's one shared memory variable. And how am I doing the shared memory? Okay, so when I go, and Pango's not building. So when I go to build Pango, it tries to link up with glue and glut or Cairo, and it says, sorry, you know, unresolved symbol SHMDT. Let's do that real quick. That is interesting. See how they're sized. Back to this. So it says that SHMDT is the unresolved symbol. Okay, so what did I do? How did I even get Cairo to even build? Because, you know. Well, another good question is how did the folks at Haiku even get glue or glut to build? Because glue or glut, those seem, as far as I could see, those also demand a shared memory header. Yeah. Just go look at Haiku ports, and you're going to find that for the X11 libraries for, let's see, Cairo patches, if you look at the patch set, all it has is the inclusion of the FENV header, and it tells configure to add L library B and L network to the makefile. Meanwhile, when I built Cairo, it absolutely demanded that I have a shared memory header. So I haven't tested it, but if that just builds, there's something going on in the background that is not apparent to anybody except the people that made the tool set. I have a feeling that the Cairo recipe is broken, and the reason why it's broken is because it doesn't have a shared memory header. So glue and glut should also be broken, and Pango should be broken. Those all demand that, at least with the existing patches that are in Haiku ports, because none of them either if-def that requirement out or provide that header. So I got the header from I downloaded the proposed header that was made, was updated as much as 7 months ago, but it was first created 6 years ago, and used it. It's off this ticket number 2657. I basically downloaded this file right here, all the way to there. No, that's not the one. That's page 3. Where the hell did page 3 go? There's page 2. All the way to here. The issue I'm having is this. SHMDT. Now, I believe the reason why I'm having that issue is because this hasn't been updated from around 6 years ago. I think. I know I've just checked. This header is not in there. This is not in there. That's not in there. None of these patches, proposed patches, have been folded in even to test at all. The discussion kind of went, one of the people that did a lot of package creation and loaded up a lot of his work, and the guy that created Sinryu submitted the patch around 6 years ago, and then there were, at the end of the day, there weren't really complaints about functionality. Instead, it was just all about style and tabs, blank lines, and all that other crap. And I want apps. I don't care about blank lines at this stage. It's been worked on by a few people, and it just has not been included yet, and the other changes have not been included yet. So without those changes, we're not going to have Pango or Cairo, and we shouldn't have glue or glut, but it's in Haiku Depot, and it comes with the system. which is another hint that kind of tells me that, along with the way Python worked and with the way some of the source code has symbolic links in it, that Haiku isn't really built in Haiku. It's built in some other platform, or at least parts of it. I looked at the open groups. There's only some tiny differences. The order and which variables have asterisks next to them or not. With the existing proposed header that I have, it's going to be up at GitHub. So mine's a little bit different as of right now. I might have changed the order, I might not have, but eventually I did try on one of these builds. You know, this here has got it with the schmat. It's got the asterisk next to the schmat, not the void, and the constant, not the void, and it's in a different order, so I reordered it, but it didn't make a difference. Still had the end result symbol. And what that tells me is that basically we're not building something a little more fundamental that would allow for the shared memory to take place in the first place. And I don't know what that involves. I don't know how deep that involves. I don't know if there's major kernel changes or if it's just a matter of adding these lines that have been around for 6 years. I have no idea. But still, through all that, the only thing I have not been able to build is Pango, because it, at least, wants to, when it tries to link up with Cairo, it gives the error that I just had there up there on screen. But they're working on it, or at least they were. But as of 2 weeks ago, someone has marked this as a feature that's not going to be added until after. I don't know what page 5 is, but page 5 says, it basically says, well, we're not going to do this till after release 1 is out, which I think would be a really big mistake. Actually, it says it right here. I don't know who Leroy was, but somebody just worked on it 7 months ago. And where someone says added, I don't see that those headers have actually been included from 6 months. I looked through all of them. None of these changes are in there. So, no, it hasn't been added to anything. Those headers are not available. These differences, I don't think they make much of a difference at all. Don't know what the complaint would be or why, but the Linux example is, trivial, I guess. But at the end of the day, if we want some of the, as you can see, I was running foo billiards there. It's not that program is not using library X11 or the X11 executable. It's not using Cairo or Pango. In fact, if I go into Haiku Depot, either the GCC2 version of Haiku or the version I'm using, GC48, there's the only thing that they actually have in there is Mesa and Mesa Glut. And the only reason why I have a shared memory patch for Mesa, which happens to also apply to Glut and Glue, there it is, is because it asked for it during the compilation. So basically the answer is the reason why it won't build in Haiku Porter if it doesn't is absolutely because the shared memory header is in there. In fact, I'm going to try this because I'm really curious. I would be boggled if this built, but I wouldn't be surprised because there was another application I was trying to build the other day that Haiku Port has as an archiver. Snappy here, and it built, but when I tried to build it just from the terminal, it couldn't find one of the headers. I've had to do an awful lot of jumping through hoops just to get things to path outside of, the turns out to be the well, I won't go there. The patch for glue, in case you're wondering, is the system libraries. Oh, wait, there is none. Excuse me. But apparently these are all the things that Glue is reading to be able to do what it needs to do. So I'm wondering about this, or I actually really am. It really should error out at some point saying it doesn't have shared memory headers. So I'm really wondering what's going on here. Etc. That is interesting, but no. Yeah, maybe they... I mean, how did I even get here? So I have a feeling it's going to build, and I am absolutely. So now it is a different version of Glue. I do understand that, but let's see what do I actually have here. 7. I don't see why Glue 7 would want the shared memory, and see, there is. It's done, and it was built without being patched, and I don't see anywhere on the recipe where it does anything to overcome the fact that there's no shared memory header. So I'm really interested as to why that's happening. Because I had to download my own shared memory header. I want to know where that fucking shared memory header is. Where you hiding it? In fact, let me look at this source here. In fact, let's just do that. Well, if I ran, if I ran it in patch, let's see. If I take out this let's just do that. Now it is a different version, but you can't tell me that the newer versions of Glue do not want the patches for Glue Glut and Mesa Lib are all in the same place. There it is. So let's just place that right out there. Let's do a make checksum. So we're not being told something, or the sources are being kind of massaged and patched before they're downloaded. So that's the only conclusion I can draw. Now, obviously, there's other complications involved here. Like maybe the header does exist somewhere, but it's buried way down deep inside that I don't know about, and in the system, and but I did a search for it. In fact, let's just do that first, okay? And there's nothing on that recipe that would lead me to believe that there's always a clue somewhere. You know, even in Pkgsrc, yeah, I may be using settings over here to make sure the library network gets injected or attempted to be injected on every single build. But at the end of the day, you can look at my settings and see that that's what I have. Every build is going to try to do that. Nothing. Right? Alright, so let's try to build this. Okay. Now it could be I'm misremembering. Maybe I put, yeah. I don't even know how I would put that in there. It doesn't make any sense. It asks for one of two headings and just decide, oh, I'm going to put the SHM header in here. I don't do that. What'll happen is I'll see an error that says no such file, and then I'll look for an SHM header. I don't just say, oh, I think that this header goes in here, without any errors or anything to prompt me to do that. I'll do a bmake make patch some, because I've removed one of the match some, patch some. And removing one of the headers, of course, no complaint. Blue does take a while, but whatever. At the end of the day, my numbers are probably going to be, if I'm lucky, I'll get up to 7,000. I have about 16 more categories, of which most are at least 200 packages or more. There's only 2 categories that are below 200 packages. Most of the time when I'm going through these categories that I've already done, I'm finding I'm building more than I did before, so there definitely are speed improvements to the operating system. It definitely feels, I have to clean out this thing. And it definitely feels like the operating system now with Samba working and my ability to actually share my files with other operating systems, it does actually feel like a desktop now. And with some graphical programs, it does feel like a desktop. But it also feels like there's some behind the scenes things going on that aren't really being revealed to people. And pointless difficulties being thrown in the path of developers, coupled with refusals to fix these things. At the same time, that I haven't a clue as to why any group would be motivated to do that kind of thing, but it seems almost clear now. See how this glue is going to take a while to extract. The fact that there are hard links in the source chart for glue, you know, Mesa, it had to be unzipped somewhere else. We know that much. But the shared memory are not being patched by Haiku Porter, by any of the patches that are present. And even looking in system libraries for Mesa here. Don't know which one was built. Let's just check that to be sure. So that's 9003. So this would be 90. There is no patch for that. Let's just look at 9, okay? So do we have SHM dot Okay, well, just grep it. Nothing. No patches for glue, so you can say it's going off of glut. Now it could be they're not building part of the whole set. But right here, when I get into the drivers in the X11 directory, it's going to ask for the shm.h header. That's why I made that patch right there. I've already restored this back the way it was. So the real mystery is, why did that build? Does the recipe... Oh, but wait, we have a wrapper script. What does that do? Well, that's the strangest damn thing I've ever seen. That built without the shared memory header. Maybe that'll be my site. Doesn't make any sense. Complained before. In fact, my patch would have asked for the locally pathed. That doesn't make any sense. See if I can still run my programs after I've replaced the formatting get them resolve symbols, because that shouldn't actually shouldn't have the I don't have an explanation as to why that worked. this account all 3,000. So there's glue. I wonder if see that right there. Library glue, right? Let's see if that Foo Billiard still works. Damn. Alright, let's try Glut. Oh, it'll just same patches, right? Sure, that's cleared out. So here I have, what's library GL? This is my old Python build. I know what that is. So it's all GLU. So Glut. Glut is glut.so, right? Let's see what Mesa is. Probably library GL. Yeah. I know one of these is going to complain about, or should. So that's Mesa up there. And there's Glut right there. Library Z I got from Haiku because my library Z did not have symbols in it. Cairo will not build without the shirt. I'll see. Now I'll remove this Glut, and then I'll see what happens. I'm going to pin this down. Yeah. All right, so that worked. And just to be clear once again, building glut, and glut is library glut, which is that. All right, let's check out Foo Billiards. I'll be damned. All right, now let's do the Mesa libraries. Just to be clear, Mesa library. It's library GL. And I have this sorted in date order, so this one right here. This is the one I'm going to be targeting and get rid of. If it doesn't complain, then I'm going to go into Cairo and maybe we'll go into Pkgsrc. Gotta clear that out. What have you done to the library GL? Well, this one should be replaced when I do bmake replace. Yeah. I hate that. So I'm actually narrowing this down. Why is it that my library GL build had unresolved symbols and the other ones didn't? Was it because I had shared memory headers in there? I have a feeling that it was just Mesa that's going to complain. It didn't take as long as I thought it would. It takes a long time when you have to patch the shit out of it. And the truth is about the Mesa source is these Mesa, Glue, and Glut, they all share the same source stuff. They just try to build different things. I'm expecting it's going to fail. If it doesn't, then you know, I'm going to try to build Cairo, and I've already rebuilt GoObject Introspection. In fact, I may have already, yeah. But I just don't, it just doesn't make any sense how all of a sudden it wouldn't need a header it needed before. I actually do have a build of motif. Looks like I might actually build. Should I take that patch out? It's still there. Of course it built because the patch is still there. Strange. Oh no, I put it back. I put it back too early. This is awfully interesting. I'm really wondering whether I could use my own. If not, if this builds and it fails, then I'm going to try taking that out. So now I've got to sort it out now. So glue and glut don't need the X11S HM.H, but I believe Mesa does. I promise this damn thing takes forever. Alright, it's going to build, I think. So I've got it all patched. I mean, that's, you know, it's not a mystery, but I might as well just copy this. It looks like it's gonna. I am really interested to see if I do a B-make place that Food Billiards will still run. And I really didn't do a fair checking of glut, but it was okay. It didn't get hurt by that patch being present. Now, after I do a B-make replace, this date should change. Just did it twice to make sure it goes in. It's gone. It's moved down. There it is. Let's see how the Food Billiards go. There's the unresolved symbol. So, okay, now let's try to take that out. So it's the Mesa. It definitely built with that header. It seems to have. Have to clear that out again. So this library GL is the only one. That for that particular program, Food Billiard, if I copy it back in, it'll run. But meanwhile, I've taken out the patch for the, you know. And meanwhile, I don't see, now it could be that a patch was upstreamed. And, let's see, I could look at the source now. Okay. So, it's still here. It should be. Oh. I didn't build Mesa. Mesa should fail. What version do they have in Haiku Depot here? Oh, God. 10.1. take the Mesa source, thank you. Fatal error. What is that fatal error? Hmm. Done yet? Still unpacking. Alright. Fine, I'll wait. It's okay. Now this is unpacked, it's just gonna build. Everything's come to a standstill. I am really curious to see this. I'm curious to see what files are going to be in this directory here. So my patch is actually for GXL header. Let's see if I have any mention of Haiku in here. There isn't any. Also, it has the same shared header. When it's sys shm, it's asking for the shared memory header. That's supposed to fail because we do not have a shared memory header. It's supposed to fail. Same kind of stuff. Notice I removed that and I brought my own down to the local, which is the one I've looked at. This should fail. Probably what the real patch is to get rid of that stuff, and I don't know what the hell it's doing here with this Git repository. putting thousands of little tags in here. Maybe. We'll see. It needs this library XML. Okay. Fine. It's broken. Something. What's it do? If this builds and it works, I'll be happy, even though I was wrong. I mean, because that means I won't get the unresolved symbols anymore. I assume. But I'll really wonder why. Now, it could be that. No, it doesn't make any sense. Nothing I can think of makes any sense why this wouldn't fail. I think the real patch is to get rid of that reference to SHM altogether. And for some reason, it's not because of Python, I don't think, that file system writes are always so much faster in the package file system than everywhere else. Wow, it's getting close to the end here. I am absolutely confused. Did get rid of that patch, didn't I? Yes, I did. Now, it could be that it's getting close there. It could be that if it doesn't find the shared memory header, it just... No, it doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. Right, there we are. The shm.h, there it is not been found. So now let's see if that does it over here in Mesa. It's looking for the same goddamn header. That's what I expected. But this time what I'm going to do, since the system doesn't seem to like that, and it isn't able to differentiate, this will build its library XML. Source Mesa X11. I think the real answer is to do this. Maybe even get rid of those. Now it doesn't know how to. Close that. So now that's what I expected. That's what I remember. The deal is here. That's all I did to take, to make it work. If I just get rid of this. Oh, where's my other terminal? Because obviously what I don't need are unresolved symbols. You know what? Alright. So now I have the real patch, and this better fucking work. And I better not have any unresolved symbols. So it worked. Just deleting that one line is the patch. I am going to do be make replace. So that I need to remake my patches and replace this thing. Which will be the effect of what I did there. I need to put this new one and I've actually resolved one of my issues. Could not unmount system. What the hell? Give up, man. What the hell's going on? That's weird. Okay, make patch. So I actually solved one of my problems here. Why is it? That's that strange. Okay, make replace. I'm waiting for food billiards. It better fucking work. If it doesn't. Alright, so now Foo Billiards work, I'm going to be happy. Alright, let's try the Foo Billiards. Cross. What? No, I didn't build that in. What the fuck? Was it because I had the other header in there? Oh, fucking God. Oh, man. What is that? Shouldn't be there. Now it's a little trick. Get rid of the build done. Let's see what happens when we get rid of the other. Install. Because I need to go to the other directory. I'll try to rebuild using this with now nothing. Wait a second. How the fuck did that? Oh, it's the destination directory. Sometimes bmake reinstall works, sometimes it doesn't. And then by getting rid of that other header, I wonder if I'm still going to have some kind of undefined reference or whatever, and still have this stupid unresolved symbol error. That doesn't happen when I use this little thing up there, though. Fucking, this is tiring. There's no guide out there that says, oh, don't build it without the shared memory. This is going to take me another half an hour. What's this doing? What's going on over here, man? It's just toast. I'm hoping the answer is just doing that. Alright, there's library number 1, but we just still don't know. Where is this damn thing? Now what the fuck's going on? That variable is in one of these things. They didn't add shared memory, but they did something else. It's this thing right here. System syscalls. I just want to grow up for this. I don't think I'm gonna find anything for some reason. Come on. Nothing. Alright, so that's not defined, so fuckers. Alright, 229. What the hell is this? Get rid of that. Alright. Try again. Tell me it's going to do the whole damn thing. Now I got an XM buffer. Now what? Yeah, there's no member. Yeah, of course. It doesn't even seem like this should be able to build. But there's no patch in the patch set from Mesa that has, let's see. So what am I doing here? I've got, what version of this fucking thing? 711. Patching the make library. Still patching the make library. Still patching. We got a config for Haiku. We have a GL header. This is an auxiliary, so it's nothing to do with nothing. It has nothing to do with the memory. Mostly has to do with, you know. So this is everything to do with the shared memory. Alright, saving the original. I'm sure it'll fail. Maybe not. Is it gonna link? I mean, fuck. Alright, there's your patch. We did that once before with library PCAP. Let's try B make replace and let's see if I can play the stupid full billiards. No. Another unresolved symbol. I'm just, yeah, this is fucking awesome. So I am, you know, and the patches aren't out there. I guess maybe that's my point. So is this really an open source? I don't know. Now I got to figure out what that's coming from, and I don't know. Or I could just keep trying, or I could try to build this without that. You know, take that part out of it. What exactly did they do? You know, let's see. Of course, we don't actually have the source for Mesa in this case, do we? What a fucking coincidence. Alright, well, anyway, I've gone over everything I want to go over today. And I'm convinced that this patch needs to go back in here, at least in some fashion. And the answer is put this library back where it was. You know? Drop a run in there and replace it with a package with magically 15,000 more kilobytes of code. Player full billiards. Enjoy it. Now, here's the deal. I shouldn't be having any kind of... That's the only code out there that has the shared memory. Well, I gotta look at Pango to see what happens with that, but... And I'm gonna go back. This crap to deal with here. Well, it does ignore the originals. I just don't like having. That's about as good as it gets that I can do. I mean, at least it builds, but why it's doing what it's doing, I have no idea. Done for now.